cherche l'amour sans trait. C'est que sans amour, on crée. T'échangerais une promesse du paradis contre ma perdue. Regarde-moi de loin.
7 years ago, I lost all of my superpowers. Now, some of you might have watched or are watching Emily in Paris on Netflix right now. And well, this is the Pinay version of that story. And even though the show does show all of the hardships of what it takes to live in Paris, I don't think it gets gritty enough. There's a lot of grit and a lot of breaking that you have to do to live that glamorous Paris life. So let me start from the beginning. I started my career as a writer, as a spoken word artist, and I got to be nurtured in this beautiful community in the Bay Area, California, a community that I'm so excited to be rejoined with today from all the way where I'm at. And my voice and my words, those were the ways that I not only expressed my identity, but it's the way that I showed up for myself and how I served my community. But 7 years ago, when I moved to Paris, none of that made sense anymore. All of my superpowers, they got obliterated and completely lost in translation. I lost my voice and I lost my community, and it was the worst thing that could happen to a writer. I arrived in France as an immigrant for the second time. Now, a lot of us move to the countries that we live in, right? Like in the US or Ireland or New Zealand, we move there with our parents, and our parents shoulder the administrative burdens of all that it takes to move to a new country. Well, when I got here, I had to go through all of that while learning a new language and all by myself. I had to witness and experience firsthand how dehumanizing it felt to be at the immigration office and to be penalized for not knowing how to articulate myself in this new language that I was still learning. I really felt how deeply profound and vulnerable it is to be a foreigner. You know, at home, for those who might know me, you might know me as a social butterfly. Well, imagine for like 4 years in Paris, I was legit the mute girl at the dinner party. It was pretty tough. Well, still moving to Paris is still the best decision that I could ever make. And every time I go through the Eiffel Tower, I still pinch myself because this really wasn't supposed to be my life. I grew up in the suburbs of Sacramento, California, and I grew up with very humble beginnings with my immigrant parents who worked so hard to give us everything they could. And because of that, I wanted to make sure that their sacrifices were worth it. I was expected to stay in my lane, in the safe route. But still, I knew that there was a life out there that was bigger than what I had. And I remember every Sunday, I would watch Xena, the Warrior Princess at 3 p.m. And I just thought about how much I hated my life. I was a really bored teenager in Sacramento, and I had very strict parents. And I said, you know what? I want to defy the odds, and I'm going to dare to design my life as big as I could dream it. And I wanted to share this because I want you to know that you have the power to do it too. So how did I get to Paris anyway? Well, as I said, I was a very bored teenager in Sacramento, and I didn't really grow up with a lot of money, but I still wanted to see and experience the world. And in 2013, I had already lived in Italy, in New York City, and in Manila, and got my ass kicked quite a bit of times in different ways in all of those cities. And I came back to California, and I thought, what am I going to do next? And there was this inner voice that told me, girl, you need to go to Paris. And I would talk back to myself like, girl, why? How would you get to Paris? It was just completely delusional at that time. And You know, after a while, I just settled into it and I listened and I claimed it, as crazy as it sounded. A few months later, a recruiter called me out of the blue and she asked if I'd be interested in a short-term contract at a company called Louis Vuitton in San Francisco at their corporate offices. And to be honest, the job role wasn't inspiring at all. I was overqualified for it, but I said, you know what? I'm going to take this as a learning experience. And after a few months there, I learned that they had a social responsibility team. And that was the aha moment of when I realized that that was how I could potentially transition into the fashion industry with my values intact as a change maker and as an activist. And after doing a lot of research, I realized that the logical next step would be to get my master's degree and to study in Paris. Within 3 months after that decision, I was on a plane and on my way to graduate school. You know, there was a time in my life where just the thought of going into a Louis Vuitton store felt completely uncomfortable for me because I didn't feel like I belonged there. And what was so funny about all of that was that upon finishing graduate school, the first job offer that came my way was from the brand's parent company, the Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton Group, the LVMH Group, who offered me a spot on their social responsibility team. So sis, crazy pays off. Delusional pays off. You've got to listen to your inner voice, but you've got to also go and dare to go in the direction of your dreams and have the audacity to take up space. Again, you might be watching Emily in Paris. And I just want you to remember as you're watching it that the world belongs to you too, because from every interaction that I've ever had with a Pinay, you've all proven that Filipinas are world class. I know that it feels like a lot of things have gotten taken away from us this year. You might have felt like you've lost your own superpowers in 2020. Well, what I've learned on this journey is that in every harvest season is a pruning process that forces us to shed away all the things that we don't need anymore, all the things that no longer serve us, so we can give way for our best and highest selves. The poet Rumi once said that the wound is where the light enters. Well, sis, maybe we aren't breaking. We are simply breaking through. Je suis tellement fière d'être Pinayista et de partager cet espace avec vous. Je suis votre plus grand champion. I am incredibly proud to be a Pinayista and to share this space with you. I am your greatest champion. Merci, au revoir, and salamat. Thank you, Gina, and to the team for putting this amazing event together. I look forward to meeting you all.